Yeah, how you boys doing?
Good, man.
Shell shocked. Good.
Why are you shell shocked, Dave?
What's going on?
Oh, he's drinking out of a dark brown bottle, label turned away.
Man.
Vanilla latte, Vienna lager. It's very
Very nice.
It's actually pretty good.
Yes, to in the chat, strip mall divorce lawyer. Joel is wearing a slanket.
Wait, really?
It's a snuggie. So, Joyce.
Blanket definitely sounds like a short for slut blanket.
When we got married in 2009, and I thought we lost it, and I was like, when I was sick a couple weeks ago, I was like, I really want to play the Switch, but like my hands are cold. Like, you know, you get cold, you just get the shivers and stuff. So I was like, it's hard out. Like, do we still have the snuggie? And so Joy was looking around and she found it. I was like, yes. No, it's so good. Bring these suckers back.
I did spend a lot of time early last year sitting in like my little chair back there with a quilt over my lap playing Elden Ring when I was sick last year. Like a couple times I was sick and then I was injured. So yeah, spent a lot of time just blanket over me. The blanket's still piled up in the corner in case I need it.
Making sure I'm still recording. Okay.
For those cold Red Dead nights.
It's cold.
Yeah. I think I am, my body is still recovering from the end of the Christmas train project where I didn't sleep for a couple days. Because the last few nights I have fallen asleep at like 10 to 10:30 while sitting up straight, which is like not a thing that I'll ever do.
10 to 10:30 is a normal time though, Dave. That's an okay time to go to sleep.
Not for me. Nope. I've been getting like 9 to 10 hours of sleep a night and still being exhausted all day. Yeah.
That sounds like something else is wrong.
Yeah. I didn't sleep for like a week. That's what's wrong. I'm still recovering.
Ben, the Amish man in chat, says he has 4 snuggies. I'd like to know, 2 snuggies make sense. Mm-hmm. But then do you guys have like an extra 2 snuggies for like, are there the basement snuggies and the upstairs snuggies? Because that also makes sense. There's no judgment. I'm just curious.
You can't have one dirty. Come on.
Well, I mean, I've stayed at Ben's house.
2 for the front, 2 for the back.
It's a pretty.
Now you're just wearing a giant coat.
It's a good size house. I'm saying like I would definitely want theater snuggies, which their theaters in their basement like ours, like theater snuggies and upstairs snuggies, like 100%.
I'm telling you, it's about keeping them clean. It's like Micah's bunny. We bought 3 of them, so that we always have one clean. It's like he drops it in a mud puddle, like, oh yeah, let me just give him a quick bath, toss him into the laundry room, pick another one off the shelf, like, oh look, he's clean.
And he hasn't figured it out. He thinks it's one bunny.
He's noticed a couple times, and he seems okay with it. He just accepts like the magic trick.
Has there been anything else, like as he's starting to get older, that you guys are like, oh, we can't get away with that one anymore?
I'm sure nothing's
Can't
coming
get
to me
away
at the
with
moment.
eating whiskey every day.
To get him to go to sleep, can't be rubbing that.
He does repeat every single word that he hasn't heard before over a few times, so you've really got to watch.
Ooh, Jessie's gonna have to really cut down on her language, isn't she?
Yeah, we gotta watch which games we're playing. Yeah. And it's hilarious of the words that he tries because of the train set. Like, I don't know how many 3-year-olds can 100% master the word uncouple, but he definitely, like, he bangs out an uncouple easily. Like, he'll be running the train set and one of the couplers is kind of loose, and so it can actually come loose sometimes, and someone's just hearing me yell like, oh no, the car's uncoupled. And then you hear the train stop. Help!
Did you test out that sub, Dave? Did it work?
The receiver gets here tomorrow.
Oh, okay.
So we'll see.
Speaking of stuff that got here, you may have seen my posts on social media. My wheels and tires are here for the car I'm getting this weekend, and they are so big. But they were boxed up, 2 wheels each in their boxes, and then like duct tape or not duct tape, but like packing tape together with cardboard around them. Carrying those things downstairs to the garage 2 wheels at a time, like it almost broke me. Like those suckers are wide. And the stack of wheels, or the stack of tires on top of each other, is like mid-chest. Like they're big.
Awesome.
I'm so excited.
I'd say you have good reason to be. I don't think anybody would argue with that one.
A problem I'm still trying to figure out is I got to have a license plate on the front of the car in our state, and this car is from a state that you don't have to do that, so it does not have a license plate on the front of it. And I don't want to drill the bumper. I don't know if you guys care about things like this. I really hate drilling into a pristine bumper to mount a license plate.
I agree with you there. That does hurt. I mean, I haven't had to ever, but the idea hurts.
So I found one that has that is like a stow and show, they call it. It's one like you mount basically this bracket underneath the bumper, and then the license plate's on a bracket that like quick clips into it, so you can just snap it on, snap it off. Ben, to answer your question, I've not seen Avatar 2 yet. I don't have nearly as many theater options as you do. Ben's saying he's deciding where to see it in IMAX, Dolby 3D, HFR, or EMAX. I am going to wait and watch it at home because I don't want to see it in 3D. I don't like 3D, and I don't want to go to a theater. Strip Mall Divorce Lawyer, what are you mounting those Firestone Firehawk Indy 500s onto? I'm curious. I recognize those tires, and since you're the only person listening to this who'll probably appreciate it, I got some Falcon RT 660s, a Zenny RT 660s. That's what I'm putting on the new car.
What was that, AMD's new GPU?
The 7900 XT or whatever? Wow, I'm amazed I rattled that off.
Yeah, that's pretty impressive.
Speaking of GPUs, Dave, have you been tempted to upgrade to one of those wonderful NVIDIA GPUs that apparently are very available now?
Not at all. Not at all. I felt the usual upgrade like regret when I guess it was the 4090s dropped. I mean, I was never going to pay that much money for a GPU. What I had paid for my 3080 Ti was already way too much. But I was like, oh man, like price to performance, like this car would have been a little bit more of an edge. But watching this whole generation be a disaster, I'm like, I'm feeling pretty good about what I have right now.
Yeah, I'll be honest. So I guess we can just transition. Welcome to Casual Shenanigans Gaming podcast all about the reverent love of gaming. I'm Jeremiah, Joel, and Dave. I'm not going to do
Joel. Just do a good start.
Oh, your mic has been like muted that whole time. I couldn't hear anything.
What? He's an.
Oh, I think it was no. You leaned back. Discord just did the noise gate because you were leaning back. That's why I cut you off. Okay, I'm sorry. Just for Joel. You're good. You're good, man. We'll roll through it. Just for Joel. I'll do it properly. I apologize. Welcome to the Casual Shenanigans Gaming Podcast, a podcast all about the irreverent love of gaming. I'm one of your hosts, Jeremiah. Tonight, I am joined by the Ranger. Just give him a little bit of a respite like tonight. That's better? Okay.
I feel like that's like the voiceover from the Ranger Dave movie, like introducing the Ranger.
And Joel,
it's like in a meadow.
Joel, I've got a name to try out for you. See what you think. It doesn't have to stick if you don't like it.
Oh,
the Game Master.
The Game Master, or
the Lord of the Dance. I feel like the Lord of the Dance is just kind of a weird name to throw out there like that.
Versus the Game Master.
Yeah, that's fair. Okay.
The Game Master.
Yeah, I'll say it like that next time. Okay, so between the Game Master and the Lord of the Dance, how do you feel, Joel? Which would you prefer?
I mean, I really like the Lord of the Dance now.
Okay, that's fair.
I wonder why.
Okay, what was I going to say about Red Dead Redemption 2? Now I've lost my train of thought. See, I was going to transition
We were doing GPUs. And then...
Oh, yes. Okay, so I looked at a PC optimization guide for Red Dead Redemption 2 because I was just curious because I've never played it on PC. I played a little bit of Red Dead Online on PC, but that's it. And I'm finally sitting down for I waited 4 years and I'm like, it is time for a replay on PC. Like I played it 4 years ago, Joel. I'm saying like I haven't replayed it in 4 years.
4 years.
It's been out for 4 years, buddy. Drink it in.
Still no PS5 version.
Well, I've got the PC version, so I'm good. So, so I went and looked at an optimization guide, and then I was like, well, I'll just crank everything up. I have a 3090. Dave, also, are you frozen? I think Dave is frozen. So I've got a 3090. I'm like, I'll just crank everything all the way up. And I cranked it all the way up. And Joel, my average frame rate was like 58 to 65, which is almost 60. But the problem is I'm not playing on my G-Sync monitor. I'm playing on my TV. I need it to be 60.
Yeah.
Or I would need to turn something down. So what I did was I turned on DLSS onto its like most high quality setting. And I'm playing the game that. But I had that little pang of like, oh, I should have upgraded to a 4090. Like I had to turn something down in order to play.
If I was forced to have to get back into, like, if I was just jumping back into PC gaming, I think the toughest hurdle for me, and it was the toughest hurdle towards the end for me, was just not having a solid frame rate, like with like VSync, because if you had VSync, you always had a weird lag. Like there was always a weird delay on it. So unsynced, like if you had extra frames, like it was okay. You'd always have that little weird strip at the very, very top, but it was usually fine. But that was always tough because like I think I would 100% have to get one of those G-Sync or whatever. There's no way I could play PC games unless I could have that, because it's just like so annoying.
There's some newer features. Have you heard of NVIDIA Reflex? Let me NVIDIA. Dave crashed, by the way. That's my
potential rumors of updated Switch down the road. I think they might be doing whatever that DLS, like the kind of AI related stuff.
Yeah,
I think.
Yeah.
Maybe
So, no. So that is closer to DLSS. So NVIDIA Reflex is it reduces latency. It does just-in-time rendering, eliminating the GPU render queue and reducing CPU back pressure in GPU-intensive scenes. Basically, if you want to think about it this way, if you have a GPU that is capable of rendering faster than you're displaying, it can kind of use that to only render the frame rate that you're displaying, but render it right before it's displayed, so that it cuts the latency down. So you don't have as much of that lag you're talking about with VSync. I'm way oversimplifying. Someone listening to this probably understands that a lot better than I do and is cringing, but it's more complicated than that, but it kind of has that effect.
Write into casualshenanigans@gmail.com to let us know. Were you cringing during that moment? How hard
Tell
did
us
you
how
cringe?
Jeremiah is wrong.
Tell us how you feel about Jeremiah.
In detail.
Should he be shamed?
Oh, well, I can answer that for you, Joel, actually. I can answer that. The answer is yes. The answer is always yes.
Dave, that poll that Joel ran during the work meeting today, I asked him if he could see who voted what, so I could see which people are on my good list.
It was who to fire.
He says he can't see the results, so I think that tells me who at least one of the people was.
I mean, I know what I voted.
Good looking out, Joel.
Welcome back, Dave.
Yeah, that was a full blue screen. I didn't realize I still had Vegas Pro open.
All good. I guess
I've been running a version of Vegas Pro for the last year that does not officially support Windows 11, so it has all kinds of fun bugs.
I mean, running
like
Windows
blue
11
screens.
together with any copy of Sony Vegas is really asking for it, stability-wise.
It's an official licensed copy and all, but because it doesn't support Windows 11, when you click the icon to start it, it like fails its startup process and it just sits nested at the bottom of the task manager. So I discovered the way to actually start it successfully every time is to start a few instances of it that all fail, and then when you force close the bottom one, it then lets the other two open.
Dave, I think you need to switch to Premiere.
I bought a new version of Vegas this week. I'm just waiting for the serial to come in.
Okay.
What version is on now?
20.
20 just came out, which does support Windows 11, thankfully. So I can hopefully stop dealing with the startup issues, and then
You really need to try. You need to try DaVinci Resolve
with the preview.
Have you switched to DaVinci Resolve, Joel?
I haven't yet, but I am working on slowly potentially transitioning to it.
Okay.
Because I had to use it for some stuff towards the end of Norman of like doing DCP stuff for the theaters, and it just works so fast on Mac. Like it feels more of like a native kind of app. And there like just the UI, the visuals of it was really, really nice. And I'm like, I really need to start potentially working at transitioning over to it because it worked really, really well.
Yeah, people do really seem to like Resolve. I've only used it a handful of times.
You can have a free version up to 2K
things.
too. It's free for up to the 2K, or actually, yeah, it might actually be 4K for normal renders, but anything like high export, I think you have to pay for it. But it's free at least for up to 2K, which is really nice.
Yeah. But continuing to talk about Red Dead Redemption 2, so we're kind of in the "What are you playing this week" segment. I really I wanted to wait a while to play Red Dead Redemption 2, similar to what I did with The Witcher. Which actually, it's funny, The Witcher 3, I waited less time before I replayed it. I waited 3 years to replay The Witcher 3, and I waited 4 years for Red Dead Redemption 2. But I wanted to wait long enough that it felt kind of new again, and I could play it with all the patches, any DLC, which they haven't done any single-player DLC, not that I expected them to. and then play it on PC. And so I'm going to play it the way that I played The Witcher 3 when I did my replay, very slowly, high immersion. I don't fast travel. I try to like stay in one place, you know, so if you're in one area, you don't ride really willy-nilly all over the map. You kind of complete an area or like live in an area for a while. I've been working on and like packing multiple outfits so that I can, you know, be ready, suited for the cold or the hot or whatever.
I'm there.
Just trying to do stuff like that. Now, Dave, you would hate this part. This is where you won't be here anymore. I do listen to podcasts while I'm just riding around hunting. It's the same thing I did in Elden Ring.
I don't even want to hear your sin. I am not your confessional, Jeremiah. I don't want to hear about your vileness.
When I do non-story related things, I don't listen to podcasts at any point. I don't
just think he's listening to letters narrated in his mind in a game.
No. For any story stuff, I definitely pause. I don't listen to it. But like when I'm just riding around hunting or whatever, it just helps focus me. I just have a good time. I don't know.
No. When you're hunting, you should be working on your own internal lore, not listening to other people's lore.
Okay, Dave, trying to scrap for every freaking item in the hunt showdown.
So anyway,
weird seasonal events. I gotta collect every snake.
But I'm really enjoying replaying it. I'm also
I
was enjoying getting into some like in-game photography, which is something I did a lot of in Cyberpunk 2077, and I've done a lot of in Star Citizen. And it has really great built-in camera tools that let you take really awesome pictures, but it only lets you export 1080p screenshots. Now I could use like the NVIDIA capture tools to take the screenshots, like use the in-game camera tools to set everything up. But unfortunately, I'm playing with my controller sitting in my comfy chair. I'm not sitting at my desk doing it because I sit at my desk all day for work. So I can't bind. It doesn't look like you can bind like shadow play screenshot stuff to a controller, at least as far as I've seen.
Cheap wireless keyboard sit next to you, just for the screenshot button.
That could be worth it. I
Like
mean,
a $10 Amazon special.
Worth it in the sense of like, yeah, Joel, you can laugh. It's fine. Dave knows what I mean by worth it.
I mean, 1080p is pretty gross. Now that we're real 4Kers.
Well, because
do you have a 4K screen yet, Dave?
What?
Do you have a 4K screen yet?
Yeah, I bought one back in July.
For your PC.
Yeah, it's
I didn't know
4K, 165
I've had a
hertz.
4K TV since Red Dead. I bought it for Red Dead.
No, I meant for like your PC that you play games on. Yeah.
It's a 144 hertz 4K screen too.
Which has gotten me.
Can you run everything at max now still?
Pretty close to it. Like Hunt, for example, everything maxed out. I still get like 90 FPS, which I'm like, that's plenty. But dude, Battlefield 1 and 5 at 144 hertz locked with everything maxed out. It feels like you're playing Counter-Strike, like on a on an old computer that's built for it, but it's Battlefield. Like it feels so good. It's nuts.
Are you a little bit screwed now because of the 144 hertz that you're like, it's really tough going down from that?
I can't go back. And just on a side note, I moved my other monitor as my secondary one now, and having two desktops both at 144 is crazy. Which is also part of the reason why Vegas keeps blue screening on the old version that I'm using is because it cannot handle a 4K and 1440 in Windows 11, both 144 hertz.
I'm running 3 4K screens and it's fine. Is Windows 11 that bad?
No, Windows 11's been great. I do not regret upgrading. I mean, I didn't upgrade it. Computer came with it, and I stayed with it.
Yeah,
there's really no reason for it to be as unstable as it is. It's a small iteration of OSs. It's not. Yeah.
Right. We're talking over each other. We're rusty. We haven't podcasted enough. But that has gotten me tempted to. Gotten me tempted. I don't know how I was saying that. I have
gotta be tempted.
Playing on Dave's new monitor has made me tempted to upgrade my screen because I've had mine for I think like 6 years. My monitor. And I was looking, there are some 43-inch OLED G-Sync compatible screens that look pretty tasty. 43 would be really big. I can't get a 27 though. I have a 32. I can't go down from a 32-inch. But if I went to a 43, I don't know if I'd want a monitor mounted above it like I have now.
Leave him alone, Joel. He's a big guy. Literally a big guy.
But yeah, I think that would be fun. to have like a 43-inch OLED computer monitor. Like, come on, that'd be pretty sweet.
You think OLED's ready for the prime time?
Well, what does ready for prime time mean? I mean,
Less burn-in?
Yeah, they seem like they're okay, and I'll get 5 or 6 years out of it. Like, am I realistically going to keep something longer than that?
I have for my secondary monitor, like my 1440p when I've had it for 5 years, I think now. And I'm planning on keeping it for a while longer.
I have my Dell side monitor, my first 4K one I've had for 8 years, and it works fantastic, and I have no plans to ever get rid of it. So, but I would probably resell my 32-inch, the Acer Predator, just to get a little money out of it, depending on what it's worth, just to put towards the new one.
I think that one still holds its value really well. The Acer Predator is one of the primary lines.
The Predator.
Yeah. Yeah. Dude, Joel, I don't think you heard this story because I hadn't even bought the monitor. It's the one that I drove up to Shane. Shane drove up north for me to pick up for me. And then I had him unbox it and test it just to make sure it all worked. And then when I got it home, there was a little cluster of dead pixels, including one stuck green one right in the middle of the screen, right? So I needed to do an RMA, right, to send it back. I'll clarify this by saying the support was excellent, but to go to their support chat, you had to go to predatorchat.net. I laughed so hard typing it in. Like, dude, it was like acer.com/predatorchat.
Or at least it was on acer.com and they didn't just buy the URL Predator Chat.
It's like, man, I had a really great experience with Predator Chat. They really helped me out. They came right to my door. Wait.
I had to give them a little bit, but in return, they gave me what I wanted. And I gave them what they wanted.
Okay.
They took what they wanted.
Anyway, I've been playing another game. Now, Joel, I don't want you to get mad. I just need to ask you a question.
Okay.
When does Ghost of Tsushima get good?
And
I don't mean that in a snarky way. I don't mean it. I'll explain.
I mean, I'll take it in a snarky way because I want to take it in a snarky way, but I don't know how far you're in. I enjoyed it right from the get-go. I did put the difficulty all the way to the hardest, and that made it really, really fun because it was like a lot more tense for every encounter and stuff like that. Some of those games are like something Eric's actually playing through right now. Something I've been trying to do lately now with any game I play is I've been really trying to just focus on the main story. Like just focus on it a lot longer, because for that game specifically, when I first started playing that one, like, you just wanted to explore and everything. I think exploring in that game, at least at the start, is really bad because you just go back to those areas. Like the main quest takes you pretty much everywhere. Like there's no like, oh, you're never going to see this area. No, you'll see almost every single area through the main storyline. And I wish I didn't do as much early exploring, because like you come back and it's like, well, I've already seen the place. So you're kind of doing another thing, So if you stick more to the main campaign, at least you won't have that like double dipping kind of thing. But if it's not your kind of game too, or it's just like it's not grabbing, then
yeah, it may
toss
just
it out,
not be
or
grabbing.
don't stick with it. Yeah.
What I'm noticing though, it feels almost like a Ubisoft game. Like
yeah. It's kind of like a Japanese Assassin's Creed ish.
Yeah.
Like it has some repeating stuff. I kind of enjoyed. I got grabbed a little bit by the story, and I think I just enjoyed like the nature of it, and it was just like. Honestly, like when you talk about the Red Dead of just kind of wandering around, it was one of those games where I could just easily hop in and just do a random side thing, because it wasn't like, when you get to a little quest area or even a side thing, it's not like a 45-minute, like, in Witcher, like every quest you play was like, hey, I hope you have 3.5 hours and you're going to be listening to a Game of Thrones dialogue. You know what I mean? Like every story was deep, right? This one, you could kind of do some and it would just be a fairly simple story, here or there. So I enjoyed that because it was not too hard and it was just kind of beautiful.
Right.
But
the game is beautiful. The music is beautiful. The art design is beautiful. Like all that is top notch. When I say Ubisoft game, I don't mean it as the insult that probably sounds like. But the story to me is pretty formulaic so far. It's like, oh, a son, defending honor and rescuing the people. And it's like, it's The story, I'm playing it in like the original language with subtitles. I'm trying to do all of that right, and it's just not hooking me. And the gameplay so far is.
I didn't play with the subtitles because especially for a game for that long, I don't mind cutscenes. Like I can enjoy watching subtitle movies, but I'm like, because it is such a visual game, I'm like, I didn't really want to spend that much time having to read that, like always glancing up and down for that kind of thing. Like it was like, and the voice actors were really good, who did it.
Yeah.
That it was fine enough for me, but
and the combat also seems pretty simplistic. Like it not
yeah,
bad.
it's easy. Yeah, no, it's easy too.
Okay, yeah. So I think maybe that's just it's not the feel for me. Like with Red Dead, combat is not super complicated, but the story and the atmosphere is really what draws you in. And like they're trying to tell you a very slow, plotting, like long tale.
Yeah,
and that's what I love about it. And you know, there's games like that, like they hook you for one reason or another. Elden Ring, I don't care what anyone on the subreddit says. There's not really a real story in Elden Ring, just like all the other Souls games. Like it's an interesting world with lots of little story bits, but they're not telling you a story.
Yeah, it's not like a forthcoming story. Like they like all their story is like embedded into the architecture and the items and stuff, but it's not one where it's like in your face. Like here's the main narrative. Right, but you'll get it if you really try to pay attention, but it's not there.
But the gameplay, like the combat challenge and all of that stuff, like that's the hook of the game. So I think in this later stage of our gaming lives that we're all in here, we're like, I don't really have the energy for okay games, you know, like I
100%, because that game was kind of like, I mean, in a way it was a little bit like the easy Lego game for me at the time, you know what I mean, where it's like you're just gonna hop in, it's gonna be a gorgeous game, I can do a couple things and be done, and it works so well as like a background PS5 like save, you know, you would just stay there in the background and I just hit resume, like bam, back in. There's no like connecting online, it was just I'll play it. So like it worked really well as that. So yeah, if it's not great, I'm like, get rid of it, dude. That's 100% where I'm at now. I'm like, I'm not gonna fight a game if I'm just like, I don't want to drag myself through it. Like it's just not gonna happen.
Yeah, it sucks because I got it for Christmas last year, the director's cut on PS5, and I've had it sealed in the wrapper until this winter. I was going to crack it open, and 2 hours in, I was like, oh, I don't think I like it.
Oh no.
And then I installed Red Dead, and then it turns out I was like, maybe I'm just not feeling games right now. And then I turned on Red Dead. I was like, oh no, I'm good.
I'm feeling games. I'm feeling something again.
I took like 35 photos my first night playing Red Dead, and I was like, oh no, I'm good.
Pulling a Dave there. I like it.
But yeah, so that's what I've been playing, except for now I realize I just said I don't have time for like average or meh games. I did play the full 10-hour demo, or not demo, but like the preview you get through Xbox Game Pass of the new Need for Speed Unbound. So I guess I do have time. I played the whole 10 hours in like 2 days.
It got great reviews, actually.
It's better than the last couple Need for Speed games for sure. It feels more like the 2016 Need for Speed. The handling is less atrocious. Like the handling is still bad, but it's not so bad that I can't play it. And the style and the car customization is pretty fun. So I think when that drops in price, I'll probably buy it so I can finish the story or finish the progression. But that's what I've been playing since the last podcast. Who wants to go next?
I'll let Joel go next.
Been playing God of War. Ragnarok, that's been really good. And man, that is such a weird game for me because both of them, I really do not like the combat just because I just find it so boring. I don't like, it's just like not engaging. I don't know why. Like it's so polished, but there's like something like over polished to me that I just don't enjoy. Like, I don't know why, but the whole presentation of the game, and I just love the story that I'm like, I have to finish it, and I'm really enjoying it. And I don't think I've ever had an experience like that in any game before. I'm like, I don't like really much of any of the actual gameplay, but I love Kratos and his son, and the whole storyline and the cutscenes are just so good that I like have to play it. Whereas opposed to like Last of Us, like, I mean, I love the whole game and I love the combat. Like it was a great, like the whole thing. But I'm like, this is like it's okay. Like it's just so polished. But like it's weird. Dave, you know how like in the game like Nether and stuff, right? Or you know how some of the games like you walk up and you'll have like the sizes of objects kind of feel odd. You know what I mean? Like they're just obviously not right. Yeah. God of War is not like that in the sense where you can tell like they have objects that are wrong because like they're a AAA. They know what they're doing. But there's something about the world in it. Even God of War, like the first one, where like it always feels like you're always on a really flat surface and everything else is really designed well around you. But it just, like even like Elden Ring, like I love like, you can walk up ledges. Obviously your feet are not going to be like constantly touching the ground correctly, perfectly. But like there's just this feeling that you're
you have autonomy over the world, where God of War kind of always feels like you're just more planted. And I think that
interesting.
You'd have to you'd have to play a little bit or see it more to but I think you get it right away what I'm saying. Where like every environment's awesome, but it's like whenever you go to every environment, it's just you're always feeling like you're walking like, you know, like here's the corridor, even though it's a bigger game, and again it's so gorgeous. It's like a weird it's just a weird mix of game. Like
was done like level design, right? Where
but even with Half-Life you just out. Yeah, but like even with I don't know, I mean like that I like that game obviously better, but it's just like right. I don't know, it feels weird. It just feels like a really high level AAA game, but the one section of how your character moves and interacts feels like you could pull the camera up and do top down and it would fit like a God of War top down kind of game. But either way, I'm really, really enjoying the game. Like it's an absolute blast and I love the story. And apparently the game is like so long, it almost feels like God of War 2 and 3. So I think I'm almost at 18 hours or something like that. I mean, the story is just so freaking good, but yeah, I've been playing that.
Joel, I'm begging you, if you're going to lean forward that far, push your mic forward just a little bit.
Oh, my popping it?
Yeah, you were getting like right up. I mean, you sounded good, right, don't get me wrong, but it was like, it was intimate.
Can we put that in the taglines for the podcast?
I've been waiting to play the Callisto Protocol. That's really good. It's from the makers of
Dead Space?
Dead Space.
Is it similar, like a space-based horror game?
It's pretty much, it's very, very, very similar to Dead Space.
Okay.
But it's really good. It's really different. But it sucks because with the ear infection I have, I'm like, I don't have as much hearing in my right ear while it's still coming back. So I'm like, oh, I don't want to play it because I want to play it because it's a very 3D, audio game. So I'm like, I'm going to wait so I can hear again. But I've been playing that. I picked up The Hunt Showdown. I got a couple copies from my brothers. We tried playing that.
Showdown. All right, Grandpa.
What is it called? The Hunt Showdown, right?
It's just Hunt Showdown.
Oh, just Hunt. Okay.
I thought it was called The Hunt too. It's okay.
Yeah. We played a little bit. It's funny. I kind of forgot how slow it is. I hate the initial moving. Like the actual moving around is too slow, and the sprinting is like just a hair fast. I'm like, I want the sprinting to be just
right.
Yeah, like it feels like just a little off for both movement speeds, and I'm not a huge fan of that. But I miss the weapons and stuff like that. But man alive, the UI is just atrocious.
The UI needs such a bad
like I was just like I'm like, I don't know, like coming in at new now, after it's been out for years, all the different things you're like rewards, bone, like what is going on?
So much of it is depreciated and like really isn't used anymore either.
Yeah, it looks like that.
Like live events have their own like sub tabs and everything going on, and it's just there's a lot. It's a whole
lot. But yeah, been playing a little bit of that. Also playing.
The movement thing made me laugh too, Joel, because there was one night where a bunch of us played COD. We played some of wow, I've already forgotten. What's the DMZ? The DMZ mode. It's like all three of us playing DMZ. We hopped into COD and we're like, is our sprint button working? Because it was just like such a complete shift of the player controller.
Oh yeah.
It felt like you were standing still because I mean COD, you zoom constantly.
Yeah.
Hey, sorry, go ahead.
Playing Sports Story, which is the sequel to Golf Story on the Nintendo Switch, and it's freaking fantastic. It came out during like one of their like winter random like Nintendo little events, that come on the videos. And I was like, yes! I've been waiting for like 5 years for that game to come out because they were gonna make a quick sequel, and then like the developers kept saying like, so we've kind of gotten lost in the game, and we're like, we just want to keep adding stuff because like we're gonna add more sports. So it's got like tennis, soccer, disc golf, but. Like the game is amazing because like your quest line to just become a golf pro, you're now joining a tennis academy, and like then you can get a bicycle, and it's just the most ridiculous stuff ever. Like now you're underground trying to like help these miners and scientists like get power couplings for something, so then you can turn the lights on and have the golf course under. It's just it's such a funny game. Playing that, I did try to play a little bit of Witcher 3. I downloaded it. I can't do it. Like not after Elden Ring. Like it was such a good game, but I'm like, man, the controls are just, I can't handle it. They're really crappy now. But it looks nice. It definitely looked really nice. So I was like, if I had never played before, I would jump up. But I'm like, it just feels so, it feels and I forgot the biggest thing that annoyed me with the combat was I hated the sporadic fighting.
I want to do the triple flip stab on my own, where it's like one tap, you do a slash, another tap, you just randomly jump and attack. And I want to be able to control that. And I'm like, that's why the Dark Souls games have better combat to me, because it's like, if I want to do the run and jump, I want to activate it my own. And I think if they gave me that choice, it would just make the combat for me better. And the fact that they don't have a good counter when someone attacks, you always have the dumb little flip. You have the one little like there's like a little I forget what it is, like a little tiny counter,
parry?
but it takes parry. You have the little parry, but you can't quickly do an attack, and it's always the same every time. And I'm like, it's just not fun. But it looks really good though.
I saved the last bit on my replay. I saved the last bit of Toussaint in Blood and Wine
nice.
to replay with the enhanced edition or whatever we're calling it, the remaster. So I've been saving that for a couple years to try, and so I want to install it. Well, I have installed it, I just haven't tried it yet. It seems like, though, with ray tracing, the performance is really brutal. With the 3090, I can run the game, I think at like 6K, 60 FPS or something. Like, it runs it super well. But it looks like people are getting sub 60 at 4K with like a 4080 with all the ray tracing stuff turned on. Because it has ray tracing like global illumination, not just reflections of things. Ray traced reflections to me are the least cool ray tracing. Ray traced ambient occlusion and like light bouncing and illumination, that's the stuff to me that makes things that's what ray tracing does to make stuff look like real life. So I am really excited to try it. I'll try to do that before the next podcast.
Oh, last game that I've been playing, it's free one on Game Pass. You should check it out. It's called High on Life. Have you heard about it?
No, what is it?
It's from the makers of Rick and Morty.
Okay.
It is really, really funny. I don't think it's a very long game. It looks like most people are saying it's like, if you did absolutely everything, it's maybe 20 hours max. So I think it's going to be maybe a 10-hour game for me. But I've been playing it every once in a while, and it is really funny. But like the game starts out and you're just at home in your house, and then aliens invade and you're like thrust in this thing, but you pick up a weapon, and the gun is actually a little alien that talks to you. He's got a little face, and it's just super sarcastic. It's kind of a bit Borderlands feeling in the sense of, but the alien's like, hey, I gotta spit on you, so now you can hear my language. Great, all right, let's go do this. But like, I'm like trying to shoot just nice people, and he's like, all right, well, I guess we could be a psychopath. That's cool too. Like, it has dialogue for everything. So like,
sounds
there's
like
a part,
Justin Roiland.
Yeah. There's a part where you're like having to go down to this like drug arena, and because you're trying to do some bounties, because you're trying to like get back at someone because they're trying to turn Earth into like into drugs. Basically, they're going to turn the whole planet into a whole thing of drugs.
That
yeah,
sounds like
and turn it into something. It's so ridiculous. But anyways, you go there, and like there's this little kid that's like, you remember in Ocarina of Time when you tried to leave the first area, the one guy's like, haha, you can't leave until you get something, like it's just blocking you. It's kind of like that, and the kid's like, and I'm like, wait, can I shoot him? And the guy's like, no, and it's like your gun won't work. It's like, I'm like, I'm just keep pressing it. And he's like, okay, fine. He's like, okay, I guess this game allows you to kill kids now. All right, okay, that's what we're doing. It's really, really funny. Like, yeah, it's like, it's one of those where like you just play for an hour. It's pretty easy, but then there's a little knife you get. The knife's like, just let me stab. I want to stab him in the gut. Find me someone. I want to stab him. Like every character is just ridiculous. So apparently there's other guns too. And I just got to a section where this little like drone guy is just flying in front of you, and he's like, I'll try not to get in your way, and just constantly in your view. Like, it's so annoying. And like even the HUD you buy, like your initial suit you get, has all these pop-up ads, and like you have to like go to like some place and buy the software upgrade, and it's got like a little Clippy character. It's really funny. So if you're in for like a little laugh, it was a free game on Xbox.
Great.
I've got it
really well
now.
Yeah, you're gonna enjoy it. It's just because I keep on trying to kill everyone. Oh, I killed a boss, right? And I saved some character. I was like, thank you for saving me. And I shot her. And it's like, wait, you can't shoot me. And I'm like, I can. I'm like shooting. Like, hey, you killed a secret boss. I'm like just killing everyone.
Secret boss is what was what you said during your trial.
It was a secret boss. It's like hey, let's try to keep the homicidal thoughts over here. Like, let's not kill this person. Like, no, I've run into like a gummy bear looking dude, like the teddy bears. There's like characters in it that look like little gummy bears from the cartoons, and they're like, wow, you're so awesome. You're the hero. You're so strong, man. I love someone with muscles. And I'm like trying to shoot them. They're like, what are you doing? What's that clicking sound? Like, click.
Always Sunny moment.
Yeah, it's good. It's definitely worth trying out if you have that.
Nice. Dave, what about you?
Have not played many games last month because of the train project. No joke, it was at least a couple 100 hours of work. And
Tell everybody about the train project.
I'm doing a video, but yeah, I basically started out doing like an oval train set for underneath our Christmas tree, and then it kept coming out better than I expected as I worked on stuff like the tunnel and like a little creek. And then by the end, it just ended up like a photorealistic, like super hyper detailed. It got way out of hand in like 3 stages, and so I'm doing a video. I finally started taking some footage as I was working on it. I'm doing a video of the project with a countdown timer where it gets more and more ridiculous. Like it starts out like, oh, it's 2 months till Christmas. Like, oh, I'm testing out the oval. Everything's looking good. It's an all-in-one set. And it's like, let's add a crossing. Well, now we got to modify the crossing a little bit to make it work with this track. And oh, now it's 4 weeks till Christmas, and I'm plastering a tunnel, and that's going pretty well. And now it's 4 days until Christmas. I'm building a wood paneled church piece by piece, including all the framework and trim with a pair of tweezers and super glue. I haven't slept in a week, and what have I done?
Which this started out as a gift for your toddler son, who definitely cared about like the realistic texture on all those wood pieces on that church. I think, Dave, you just tried to speed run your first year of your dream retirement.
Yeah, that's exactly. I had all these like magazines that I picked up when we went to the museum with Micah for his Christmas train run. I'm thumbing through them. I'm like, I'm just gonna put all this in a box. Like, I don't have the time for this in like another 20 years. But I have felt very validated with how much he loves it. Like, I was very nervous by the end. Like, oh gosh, like what if he just completely trashes it the first day? Dave's like, but
Sorry, son.
he is so hilariously gentle with it. Joel, he would make you so angry what a safety Nazi he is. You can't do the train more than like 20 miles an hour by scale. Because like the first day I was showing him like on the little dial, like here's like the good speed to do. He tried to do it fast.
Yeah, because he was doing it fast at first. Yeah,
like, he was doing it a little fast at first, but now like something just clicked, right? And if I try to do like a medium speed, like 40 miles an hour, he like yells like "Dada, too fast!" And he runs over and he hits the big red like emergency stop button on the controller and just like cuts all the power.
dude, this is perfect.
Nerd.
Matthew and Micah, they're growing into the roles they should be. Mortal enemies.
mortal enemies. We're doing a
Well,
good job.
Joel, to be fair, a lot of that's going to be because you're going to teach Matthew to be his mortal. Like, Dave's just teaching him about trains, and you're going to be like, see that? That's a dork. We don't like them.
Yeah. We hate those people.
Now put on your Snuggie and get ready to make Survivor.
I did laugh too because the other day, he took the train off the tracks for the first time because he knows he's not supposed to like mess with the cars by himself because they're just tiny and delicate. And I didn't notice until he'd actually taken the entire train and all the cars off the track because he was taking them off one at a time and like slow walking, carrying them with 2 hands and setting them on the china cabinet like one at a time. And so he's been so good with it, and yet I broke the first piece on it yesterday. I reached over to get something off the tracks. Oh, my camera lost focus there. And I pulled a Jeremiah and went too fast, and I knocked the cross off the top of the church, like cracked it clean off in one fell swoop. But yeah, that was basically all of December. I had all this vacation time. I had a whole week of vacation before Christmas. And I was going to I had a day set aside. I was going to play the Hunt event. I was going to play the new Witcher patch. It was going to be awesome. I still have not played a single minute of the new Witcher patch. I had a whole day set aside for it, and it never happened.
Again, just to be clear, because of a project you wanted to do and had a blast doing.
Yeah, until there was a point, I'd say probably about a week before Christmas, where I had already gone too far to not bring it all up to the same level. Like, you know projects when they get to that point, right? Where it's coming out so great and you're like, okay, we can do this, we can do these parts, kind of cut some corners, just do them real quick. And I hit that point where I'm like, I can't cut corners. It's got to be all in. And it was about a week before Christmas. I was still planning on, I had this little Amazon.com Chinese Christmas village set that was somewhere in the middle of the scales, right? In scale that the train set is 1 to 160. And the next scale bigger above that is 1 to 84. And this was 1 to 110 or something. So it's it looks okay, right? Mm-hmm. But just looking at these cheaply painted like Christmas Village buildings in the town square, as like the rest of the photorealistic forest was coming together, I'm like,
Dave is like, this will not do.
100%. Yeah, it was just one of those projects that came out too well, and so it spiraled. But earlier in December,
So how close are you to being done?
What's that?
How close are you to being done completely?
Oh, I really hadn't worked on it since Christmas, because I got basically, I'd say 85% of it done by 8:30 a.m. Christmas morning. I stayed up all night long the last night and was making coffee when Micah got up. The last few things I had to do, some LED lights for the house on the hill hadn't arrived in time. They arrived after Christmas, so I had to install those and wire them up. And then, so now that those are installed and working, I've got to like glue that building down and add the snow around that building. I didn't have time to finish the little trees on top of the tunnel. That took like an hour to finish. And then the big thing that didn't get finished was I had a three-way working signal light with like a toggle switch where you can manually control green, yellow, red. And I was sitting there at like 5:30 in the morning, right? And I'm underneath the layout. It's like on sawhorses in the living room. I've got all these work lights on. And I'm staring at this rat's nest of red and black cables. Then I had the signal wires, which are 5 wires. And they had to run into the main power toggle switch and then pigtail from there onto the 3-way toggle switch, which had no instructions. So I had written out my own wiring diagram to follow. And I'm staring at it and just going cross-eyed at 5:30 in the morning. And I'm like, this is the one thing that's not going to happen. Like, I'm going to blow out every other light on this trying to get it working. So a few nights ago, I took a couple hours with my wiring diagram and just got under there and figured out what I had done wrong and got the signal light working. And it blew Micah's mind. He got up the other morning and he had a stoplight, signal light he could actually control. And so he stops the train right in front of it and flips the light and tells it to go. And then he hits the button to make it
What's
go.
your plan
So now that that's
are you gonna?
I've got to wire up the other two to that.
Do you have a way to like put it away or like, you know what I mean, store it or anything, or?
Yeah, so that's the other kind of corner I painted myself into, is he absolutely loves this thing. And right now it's not under the Christmas tree. It's sitting on our dining room table. We have nowhere to eat.
Yeah.
It's been like that for a week and a half. So I'm going to put a couple of legs on it, and then we're going to put it underneath our TV for like a few weeks. And then probably sometime in February, I'm going to pack it up for like the rest of the year and replace it with like a basic like sheet of plywood with they have a Thomas in scale set. We're going to get him that to last in the year, and get him a couple of like 3D printed basic buildings that he can move around on his own and stuff like that. So we'll have
that'll
like
be cool, because then it'll be extra special for him during Christmas time.
That'll
to,
be
like,
a Christmas
exactly.
like
pull it
okay,
out.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I had a list of some stuff I hadn't gotten to as part of the project that I wish I had time to do. Like, I actually have a 3D printed Forerunner, like an 06. It's like a clear print so that when you paint it, the glass is actually transparent and all that. It's pretty cool. And I wanted to have that like at the train station, because we drove my truck up for his train trip this year. So he loved Deadass truck was what he drove to go on his train trip. So I wanted to have that on there. Didn't have time to do all that. I have some stuff like some billboards and whatnot. So I have a few ideas to add on to it next year. And I think what we're gonna do is each year add like a few little Easter egg things hidden around. So it's like a tradition each year. We like add something
That'll be
to
cool.
it.
Yeah.
That'd be cool, and it will extend the life of how much he enjoys it too. Because you keep it out. I mean, he's gonna like it for a while, but eventually he'll move on to something else. Yeah. So I think that'll be nice. It'll be a nice special thing, and keep a lot of use out of it for a long time. If you can keep all the wiring and stuff, but it'd be cool. Yeah, attach it to some board or something like that. Too bad it didn't have like a foldable one, and you could like fold it and then. But I
no, this definitely will not fold anymore.
Yeah,
dude, there's like 15.
We build our house around this now.
I've got the wiring mostly tucked away under some cardboard covering now, but yeah, like adding some stuff to it'll be fun in the future, because when we were on vacation, we visited their whole business is just a giant room model train. It's like a I don't even know, like 150 foot square, like absolutely massive room with a train set, and they have like kid height where they can run around it. But when you go in, they give you a sheet of Easter eggs. It's like 101 things you can find hidden everywhere, and so it's like an Easter egg hunt as well as just being a cool model train, like model setup. And so that was a lot of fun, and that kind of inspired that, like, oh, what if we like hid a few things, Easter eggs around each year? Because the one up there had all kinds of fun stuff. Like they had an animated farmer like up in the mountains who was like shooting a groundhog with a shotgun that was in his like cabbage patch and stuff like that. They had all kinds of just little hidden things.
Dave has all this lore. He's gonna have probably a journal too.
Oh, there's all kind of notes. But yeah, anyway, that was most of my December. What I did actually manage to play was I did a sponsored video for GTFO, which you guys had played already.
What is that?
And it's a... How would you describe it, Jeremiah? A survival co-op?
Yeah, survival co-op. It's similar to that Aliens game that you played for a bit, Joel.
Okay, the Alien, yeah.
Like a co-op 4-person, kind of like Left 4 Dead or the Aliens thing where you get turrets and you have to unlock rooms and you have to progress along. And really, yeah, it's just a co-op survival shooter. But you play as inmates trying to do tasks and maybe eventually earn your way or escape your way up out of like space prison or whatever. The story, there's not really a story.
Yeah.
It's a very basic story, yeah.
Yeah.
That's cool.
That was a lot of fun. It's actually really difficult. Although the level that you guys failed on, Jeremiah, they beat first try with me. I'm just saying.
Oh wow.
Just saying. It was that sponsored wind in my sails. You know, I gotta make it look good. But yeah, that again, another sponsorship that it's always fun to have ones that are like dead on for what I like playing. So that was a lot of fun. Hunt event has been fun so far, but again, I've played like 4 or 5 hours of it, barely played it. Have you played the wildfire yet, Joel, in the event?
Well, we played one level that had the whole like fires going everywhere.
Yeah.
Is that what you mean? Okay,
yeah.
yeah, I didn't know if that was like a special like actual mode, but yeah, that was really cool.
Yeah, that came out of nowhere for this event. And again, it's funny because it's like a wintertime event, but not really like themed at all. It's just happening during wintertime. But unexpectedly, they have that version of the maps for all 3 of the game's maps.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, like no one saw that coming, and it runs well. It's was really awesome. One of the few nights that I have gotten to play the Hunt event, we had a bounty team try to escape. Like we were working on encircling the barn that they were hiding in, and they ducked out the back of the barn before we could do a full encirclement, and they dove right into one of the like most fiery areas of the map. And we noticed fast enough that we caught up to them before they could get out the other side of the firestorm, and we ended up having this gunfight for about 10 minutes back and forth, like in the hellfire. Like you're chasing them down these lanes where like you can barely see because everything's glowing and on fire. And Chris got downed at one point and his body's just on fire, which is a mechanic in the game to get rid of your health bars. But he's on fire because his toe was in the fire when he went down. And James ended up downing himself because he was cooking a stick of dynamite, and he went to throw it at a guy who was like hiding behind a wagon, and he threw it into the fire, and it went off as soon as it went over the fire.
Oh wow.
And knocked him backwards. Like the whole firefight in the fire was it messes with the game balance, I guess, if you're like one of those players that has like the map totally memorized and all the mechanics memorized. But for me, I'm still not that hardcore about the game's mechanics, it's cool to have it mixed up totally like that, where it's just something totally off the wall. So yeah, good times in the Hunt event. And I was able to finally pick up the Ebenezer Scrooge Hunter, which I've been playing.
Did you buy it,
nonstop.
or did you just unlock it because you have points or something?
I just bought it because he was from a previous winter event when you could unlock him for free, but now you have to pay for him. But I love his description so much. It says he's known for being slow to his wallet but quick to his rifle. I was like, I gotta buy that.
That resonated with Dave.
Yeah. And then a little bit of Battlefield as usual with the gang. We've had some really good rounds of Battlefield.
Which gang is the we that's playing Battlefield?
It was this last time was it was Mikey and Shane and me.
Okay.
Some of the original crew. James has tried to hop on a few times. It hasn't lined up nicely, but yeah, Battlefield 5 is still doing pretty well. And that game
Is that one doing the best right now out of all of them? Like
no,
the most
Battlefield
players?
1 actually still is.
Oh, right. Yeah, sorry, you said Battlefield 5. That's what I meant. I meant Battlefield 1. But
I've been playing more 5 recently just because we never stopped playing 1, right? Like we've been playing 1 all the time since it came out. It's always there. 5, most of the groups kind of stopped playing 5 at one point, so I've gotten them to come back to it because I love the the vehicle mechanics in 5 I think are my favorite in the whole series, where you have limited ammo, and if you get damaged too much, you can't repair past a certain point. You have to go back to a supply station and like kind of like a home base, kind of like the original games had the airfield, where if your plane was too damaged, you had to go back to the airfield. It's like that in 5 with the tanks and all the ground vehicles. If you take too much damage or use too much ammo, you have to go back and resupply. I just enjoy that more grounded mechanic, and just the unlock trees for the vehicles can make it so that they have some more interesting, I guess variables is one word, but just like you can spec out a Tiger tank to do like 2 different types of combat entirely, and so there's a lot of just stuff you can do in 5 that mechanically I think
Is
they designed
2042
really well.
still kicking around?
What game is that?
I actually completely forgot about it. I saw some post and I was like, oh crap, forgot that game was out.
Yeah, again, another new map came out like in early November, and it was a good map. Really great looking too. I played probably like 8 or 9 hours of it, but I kept waiting for the patch that was supposed to come out in December that is going to put the specialists back into their classes again, like the old games, and that got delayed until this year. So that's what I'm waiting for now, is the specialist patch. I guess call it the class patch.
Nice.
The class patch.
It is
Add some
now
class.
news time.
News time.
Joel, you have the first item here.
What was it? Oh yeah. Gran Turismo movie footage shown. There was, I think it was Sony had a big event at CES.
I
I meant to actually send it to you earlier because I was like, oh, I know you like Gran Turismo. You like cars?
do like cars. That's why I don't want them to make a Gran Turismo movie.
Yeah, it'll be interesting. Well, as Orlando Bloom's in it, and the guy from Stranger Things, I forget the other guy, what his name is, David Arbor. They're in it. I don't know if the movie's gonna be any good, but they were just talking about how they were filming it, and one quote was like, "Oh, Jeremiah, like they said the sound apparently is gonna like knock your ass off. Like it's gonna be like they're trying to do a lot of cool stuff with sound in the movie and stuff." So I'm like, hopefully it'll be kind of decent.
I'm sure I'll respect
just
the
a
technical aspects of stuff like that. But like, there's just no way it's gonna be a good movie, you know? Like,
Yeah, I know.
just no way.
Yeah, I don't think so. But anyways, they showed off that. I forgot to mention that they actually they were showing off some more VR stuff. There's a really cool kayaking game actually coming out for the PlayStation
cool.
VR 2. It was just a really unique thing. But what's funny is there's actually 2 games. There's actually 2 different kayaking like games. One is like it's like 1991 and you're some like secret spy going behind enemy lines and you're using the rivers to navigate, and so you have like a silencer and you're taking people out. But I thought it was just a cool, unique way of interacting with a game. But this other one looks really, really good. Like it just looks gorgeous, and you can paddle around kind of Icelandic areas, or it's just stuff that looks pleasant. And I was like, oh, that'll be kind of interesting. But they showed that off. But they also showed off a really cool controller that they announced for people with just different handicaps or whatever. If people don't have a left arm, or like
So like their
fingers
answer
or
to the Xbox accessibility controller.
Yeah, I forgot. It I was like, again, just for kind of design a UX experience of like, they allow you to like move the buttons around and all this stuff, and I was like, that's pretty cool. It looked really neat. It was like one of those like, how does this work? But just thinking of all the people with different kind of disabilities or how you have to use it, I'm like, that'll be kind of cool to see how that works. So, because it was funny the other day we were thinking of, just because like with Matthew, he wants to play games, and you'll see me with my controller sometimes, and what I do is I'll have my controller in my hand, and I'll have the empty Switch controller where you put the little slide the Joy-Cons in, and I'll hold that for a second, and he loves it. And he'll hold on to it, and he's like, I'm holding a controller. And I was and I remembered, I think for Nintendo you can actually buy a kid Nintendo controller. And I think they also make one for PlayStation that's actually like professionally designed, but it's like small and everything's compact and everything. And I was like, I'll have to get him one of that. I hope he enjoys playing some games. I'm really looking forward to that, like playing just some Mario or something like that, because I was like, me growing up, I was like, my parents they didn't want to play any games, that kind of stuff. So I was like, my luck though, he'd be like, I hate games. I'm like, damn it,
Dad, I'd like to play football.
Yeah, I'm like, oh man, come on. Yeah, volleyball's
You're like, no,
crap.
Have you played volleyball? He's like, Dad, that's dumb.
But I'm like, I feel like I've got a wide net because I can play tennis, ping pong, I mean, I know
a
how to play
wide net,
soccer,
and you're ready
okay.
to spike it right over that net, no matter what he's into.
Volleyball, ping pong, tennis. I mean, I know how to play
Joel,
catch.
Matthew's going to grow up and one day just tell you,
that,
Dad, those reality shows just rot your brain. Had a good run.
Joel is pantomiming killing his child, just for all the audio listeners. All right.
just choking him out.
Oh, just choking him out. Okay, just teach him a lesson. Like a loving father. So the next news item, I know you guys are thinking, I'm glad we live in a world where, you know, the rich and corporations and things are held accountable. And you'll be pleased to know that CD Projekt Red has settled the Cyberpunk 2077 lawsuit that investors brought against them because, you know, the game launched in really rough shape 2 years ago. They are being fined a whopping $1.85 million they'll have to pay to the investors, but they will not be required to admit to any of the charges in the suit. So they don't have to admit any wrongdoing. They can pay like 0.5% of the profit of the game or something, probably less than that. And there's no other consequences. And everyone just gets to move on. So justice has been served, and we can all move on as well. Any notes on that? Or are we just going to move past that?
I don't know.
I just don't care
I'm
about
split
that
on
game.
that one. I obviously I think management really dropped the ball with Cyberpunk, but how much financial responsibility should be attached to that?
Yeah, I know. I'm being a little facetious, but I agree with you.
Oh yeah, I know. But especially seeing how much that game has bounced back in the last year. It may be a little too early to call it a redemption story, but I mean, on paper, it definitely is. The game hit over 1 million active players on Steam at the middle of last year. I mean, that's insane numbers. And it has like positive reviews now on Steam, and apparently runs great. And I loved it as it was at launch. I maybe not loved it, really enjoyed it. Loved is probably a little too strong, but especially for the investors, I would say they have absolutely redeemed the brand. So 1.8 million, that's fair.
I don't know. I don't think it does anything to incentivize them to release a game in working condition next time, which is what...
Well, that's definitely true. Yeah.
Right, that's the whole point of that lawsuit. It's not just to
yeah.
smack their hand, it's to try to convince them to do it differently. And I don't think it accomplishes anything along those lines. But switching way over to something much cheaper that everyone really likes, Payday 3 is coming, supposedly, in 2023. Are we going to play Payday 3?
I mean, if it's any good, yeah, I think.
What do you think, Sean?
Like, the first and only time we played it was enjoyable, and I hope it just doesn't turn into that robo mess. You know what I mean? It was like, oh, this is really awesome, and it was like, oh, there's just like thousands of zombies. You know what I mean? Like of cops, basically. You know what I mean? Like, it was fun, but I was like, I don't want to play this again because it was just like horde mode. You know what I mean? Yeah. I think if it's not 100% horde mode, like I was playing co-op Modern Warfare with my brother, and man, it's actually pretty tough, but that's actually really fun because it's like there's no dicking around in that game. Like, you have to actually work together like 100% or you're screwed. I was not kind of expecting that. I was not going to be a little bit more forgiving like the original Modern Warfare 2 Spec Ops. It was like, no, you start from the very start. It's like, this is Dark Souls. I was like, whoa. But it'd be kind of cool if the game is a little bit like that, where not the hard mode is just you're slaughtering 50,000 cops, that are coming after you like out of nowhere, coming around the corner. That's one thing I didn't like about the other Payday.
That was my same issue.
I didn't
too.
play.
Yeah, honestly.
Yeah. It was just like, it was fun for the one whole night that we stayed up. But yeah, I mean, I'm game to try it.
All right, it is now time for 90 Seconds with Joel, part of the podcast where Joel talks about whatever he wants for really, honestly, as long as he feels like it. I'm very interested in the topic you've got there, though.
I'll try to save some of it because I was like, because James will be pissed. I'll tell him to listen to this just for this part at least, because we've been discussing the DC extended universe movies and stuff, and I'm like, what the crap?
Now, Joel, the way you wrote it was, it sucks now, and I'm gonna say, when did it not?
Well, first of all, oh my gosh, Black Adam, that
we watched 10 minutes and then Hope and I were just Hope and I agreed, like, we're not
brutal
feeling
to watch
and
through.
we're just gonna bounce.
That was so brutal to watch through. Like, I was like, I can't. It's like, it was embarrassing how bad it was. But I think what sucks is that, so obviously, like, the whole they're restructuring everything because a lot of the movies have lost a lot of money, which, yeah, I mean, makes sense to kind of restart. But it's sad because the weird part to me is, and Netflix is doing it a lot, like, and they're even doing it more. And now they're losing way more subscribers than they possibly imagined because people are getting used to, if a show comes out, they don't watch it until the next season because so many of their shows are canceled. It's like over 75% now. Like, when they come out, it's canceled and they don't make it past the first or second season. That's it. And I think what's rough with some of these studios is I'm thinking they still have the Flash movie in the can. Like, it's done. It's all ready to come out. You have the Flash. You have Aquaman 2, all finished, ready to come out.
I keep
like,
forgetting about that.
Yeah, you have several big movies coming out. And what I think is rough is, like, I can understand going, hey, yeah, it hasn't been a great trajectory. Some people like this. People didn't like Justice League, you know, but then maybe some people like the new Snyder cut. You know what I mean? Like, you have that. I get that. And you're losing money. You got to can it. Because, I mean, that new... Gosh, the Batgirl movie, oh my gosh, there was some more photos and stuff. It looked CW bad, like bad. So I'm like, they've got some bad projects. But what I always saw it is like, I wish what they could do is to go, yeah, this is not doing well. Can we wrap this up in one more film? So here you got 2 more big movies, plus I think actually no, a third one. They have another one called Blue Beetle or something. But all of these are still connected to the universe that's been out, right? Like with Henry Cavill as Superman and all this kind of stuff, right? So, but they're trying to reboot it. And I'm like, to me, it's too quick to reboot to go, now we're having another Batman, because the Batman that's out right now with what is it, Pattinson, whatever, like, that movie's not connected to any of the other ones. It's like a really more hardcore, trying to be as more realistic kind of in a way, you know, it's just different. And then you have the Joker, Joaquin Phoenix's character, which is also completely disconnected, which I think works because they're trying to go a certain route that it's just, you're not going to have like Steppenwolf and all these sci-fi people. Like, it's just not, it doesn't fit in that kind of movie. But I'm like, I wish some of these studios would go, have a bit of the balls to go, let's make one more film to just kind of, as much as we can, wrap it up, so that when you do have a nice soft reboot, it's like, you can still kind of sell those old movies in packages. Because now, like, because now when the Netflix launches, you have all these shows that just randomly end on extreme cliffhangers where it's like, dang it, you know what I mean? Like, there's nothing to go back. And you know, again, same with how Game of Thrones ended so badly. It's like, you lose out on the people going, and hey, I want to get the box set, you know? Like, it really does damage if you kind of screw up the endings of some of these things. And even though I think a lot of people agree that they need to probably do something different because they've lost movies, and some movies have been bad, and, you know, the Suicide Squad first one was crap, and then the second one was like kind of okay but just weird and bizarre and stuff. It's like, what are you doing, you know? But I'm like, dang it, like, because they teased, and then you have a spoiler of, you know, Superman coming back, and I really liked Henry Cavill's Superman. I thought he was pretty cool at that. I was like, it would have been neat to just see one more film to sort of try to encapsulate that, so you could at least say that's kind of like the legacy collection. Mm-hmm. And then I feel like you would at least be able to still promote that and sell. But now it's going to be just like, to me, when I think of like, cool, the Flash. So here's a random part is the Flash apparently is getting such good buzz about the film that, I mean, we'll see if it's any good, but they're promoting it huge at the Super Bowl, and Warner Brothers hasn't promoted almost any of their films at the Super Bowl in a long time when it comes to that slate of films. And apparently everyone's saying it's just such a crowd-pleasing movie. It has Michael Keaton as Batman in it, like, because it's like, you know, a multiverse kind of thing. But anyways, let's just say it's like really good. It's like who cares anymore? You know, kind of like, well, if you've already announced the ending of all these characters, like Wonder Woman actor, she's not coming back. Ben Affleck's not coming back. Henry Cavill's gone. I'm like, you know, you've already, like, it's like you announced it too soon. It'd be like saying, hey, we're going to start a new slate. You know, I think if they just announced an end cap, it would be cool to see that. And especially even with some of these Netflix shows, maybe not do it a full 14 episode season, but I think if they just added 1 or 2 episodes to allow some sort of an ending, you can at least use that, because now it's your catalog. But I'm like, dude, I got Netflix to watch. I forget what it was.
Ozark. But I'm like, shows are just garbage on there, because you look around and you go, what is this show? Oh, it's one season. It came out like 10 years ago. Like, there's nothing. Like, I'm not watching a show that ends with a cliffhanger that has nothing. I'm like, why would I want? Like, just get rid of the show. Like, why would I even watch that? You know, like, it doesn't. It's not even like a semi ending of a story. And I'm like, man, I think it's rough. Like, stop putting out so many shows. Maybe just trim it down a little bit. So, yeah. But apparently HBO Max right now, they just said, yeah, we're gonna start not canning some of these shows and like just ending a little bit, because I really like the show Raised by Wolves. It's kind of like a aliens android type series, you know? Yeah, and it's I'm like, I mean, I can get it. Like, it's probably not a massive, you know, show thing, but I'm like, I feel like that it's like, maybe just give it one last thing and just end it, so you at least have a complete kind of package.
They'd already canceled that, but the problem they're going to have is that with the Discovery merger, Discovery is trying to ruin HBO as fast as humanly possible, which, like, if there's any network that has almost, like, universal acclaim, it's HBO, and they seem determined that they're going to... Supposedly they're going to rebrand and combine the both and call it Max, which is like, you're going to get rid of the best name in premium television and call it Max. Good job, guys. Like, somehow you figured out how to completely destroy your product.
Who gets paid to come up with these names?
Yeah, it's just weird. But I'm like, well, they're definitely seeing, like, there was I forget what actor who was talking about it, saying, you know, like, everyone was like, oh, streaming is like the savior of these things, but it is turning absolutely not that anymore. And you can see that drastically all over the place, because, you know, with Netflix losing so many personal movies, they just have more only Netflix stuff, and they have so many unfinished stuff that, I mean, like, you know, everything's split. You have to have Paramount if you want to watch that cowboy show or whatever. If you want to have this, you want to have this. You know, it's like, yeah, it's a big problem. And I think, especially with movies, like, they turn out these just really low quality films, but kind of, I think of it as like, think of like a video game as the resolution as 720p, but the UI is 4K. A lot of Netflix movies now, they'll pick up smaller films and they'll add a lot of polish and make sure the audio and everything in the design and like the introductions of stuff looks really good. And that's why a lot of those movies, if you see the first 10 minutes, they put a lot of stuff into the first 10 minutes. And then you're like, why does this kind of feel like a low budget movie after that? Well, it's ways that they can take and recycle some of, like, movies that no one would ever see in a billion years in a theater, but would maybe take a look at it because it's free, you know, free or something like that. So, but yeah, I don't know. It's just sad because I was like, I'm not a massive fan of the DC universe, but I really enjoyed Ben Affleck. Like, he kind of grew on me a lot, and I was like, it would have been cool to just see some sort of continuation and just finish it, so you could just kind of say, hey, Man of Steel, Superman, like, at least it feels like you had some sort of a collection. But now it's just a lot of unfinished stuff, and I'm like, you're not gonna be able to resell that stuff easy, you know? It's just because it's all unfinished.
And with that,
soapbox is off.
just a reminder for our listening audience: since our last time podcasting, on a related note, Joel, there have been I repeat, no releases of any Witcher audiovisual content except for the game patches. This is your reminder. There have been no releases of any audiovisual Witcher content with the exception of the new ray tracing patch.
The next Witcher thing will be released next summer when The Witcher Season 3, and let's go ahead and call it the last season of The Witcher, releases.
Speaking of ending on a cliffhanger,
isn't it Season 3 that's coming out? Is that what it is?
Yes, Season 3 will be coming out, and then because
Cavill filmed the finished Season 3, right?
Right, they've already finished it, and then Hemsworth is taking over, which I'll try it.
I'm making a bet. I don't think Season 4 is actually going to make it. I think because if Season 3 comes out, unless they're already deep into making it, but if they're not super deep into the filmmaking of it, or maybe even just started on it, I think it'll probably get canceled.
Yeah, it's a good possibility.
I was just going to point out that if it does get canceled, Joel, it's going to end on an awful cliffhanger. Basically anywhere that it would end after Season 3. It's going to end right in the middle of, like, the Ciri and Geralt story. Like, right smack in the middle of it. It's just, there's no way around that. If it dies, it's just, yep.
Can I end with just a happy note? A show I'm actually really enjoying.
Sure.
We have one episode left. Andor.
Nice.
We watched all of Andor.
Really?
Okay, I didn't realize you hadn't finished it yet.
We're just on the final episode. We just finished. Dave, it's really worth it.
It's an actual good show that happens to be a Star Wars show.
And I think when we talked about, I guess, a couple months ago when we were initially talking on the podcast. Would you think it's fairly accurate how I was saying? I was like, it's like both feels Star Wars but not Star Wars. It's kind of a Battlestar drama.
Yes. Because
mix, but it feels like one of a hardcore video game, like that, like a it feels more like playing a darker Star Wars video game cutscene, but it's just written really well. Like, right. I'm like,
some of the most intense scenes are when two people are just sitting in a room quietly talking to each other. Like, it feels like House of Cards or Game of Thrones or something, where like awesome. the actual dialogue and the interplay between the characters and things is like, the action's fine when the action happens. It's good.
Yeah,
but
like Dave, like, again, this is not spoiling anything, but like the whole series is obviously leading up to about how the Rebels, and it's leading up to Rogue One or whatever, right?
Sure.
And I'm glad they're only just doing 2 seasons.
There's this thing called a Death Star, okay?
Yeah.
I thought that was there's a character that's working behind the scenes to try to like instigate and try to get this to rise up against the Empire. But what I love so much is that like all the good guys and bad guys, like they were making good decisions, like the round table scene, like in the first Star Wars, A New Hope, that one, like the scene when they're all discussing politics and Darth Vader comes in, the two guys are having an outgoing, no, well, we should do this, and the Jedi are like that kind of thing. The show kind of gets that. Like, there's moments where they're discussing stuff that feels like those moments. Nice. And I'm like, wow, this is really good. Like, the female character's really good. The other guys are good. Like, it's just like, there was the interview with the female characters. She's like one of the main villains. She's like, says she's having a lot of fun playing a just straight up villain, not like unmistaken kind of good. She's like, no, I'm just playing a bad guy, and I'm like, and it's good. I was like, oh, it's refreshing.
She's not like, a cartoon bad guy either. Like, she's
but it's like guy. She's like, she's twisted, but like well spoken, and like
do you recognize
like the motivations
her voice?
work? I thought it sounded somewhere familiar. What is it from?
She's the voice of Yennefer from the Witcher video games.
Oh,
I
thought I was like, because she has a really proper voice, and I was like, this sounds so familiar.
Cool. Yeah,
because there was the lady who does the voice of Alex in Half-Life. She's been in a few games before. I'm like, why does this sound familiar? I'm like, oh, it's the Half-Life person. But
wasn't that Jennifer Hale?
I think so.
Yeah,
the Half-Life Alex is actually a different actor for her, but either way, that actor's been in a couple of games.
One of the most famous female voice actors of all time. Jennifer Hale.
Anyways, but the main character that's kind of like trying to run things and recruit people into fighting back and stuff, and it has the actor from Rogue One, I forget what his name is. What character he plays? Man, he's got the fro. What is his name?
Saw Gerrera by
Saw Gerrera. There we go. Yeah. So I mean, but like, it's filmed really well. Like, it's so wonderful. They're filming in freaking real locations. Like, it makes such a difference. And there's no goofy lines. Like, no goofy lines. There's no like.
Let's be honest. That's the biggest difference.
It is. It's so huge. It was funny. Is actually we saw Avatar a couple weeks ago, and it was really good. I would definitely recommend, if you're a video game player, don't maybe go see high frame rate, or at least if you do, see both. It was both really fun to see it, but the way they do high frame rate is they actually do it at some parts, and then not on like dialogue scenes. So like from a video game viewer, it feels like frame rate's changing all the time. And so you're just aware of it,
Because it is.
If you don't notice that, you don't really know frame rates, then you're going to like have a really wonderful time. But it was funny. I was watching it, and me and Joy were like, man, it's really nice when you don't have the freaking Marvel goofs every other second. In the sense that someone made a funny meme, and it's not like an incredible story.
I want to watch the blue space cats jump through the water in a serious movie.
Like,
damn it!
But just for the example of like, because we rewatched Avatar 1 in theaters, like the remastered one, and it looked really good. But we were laughing because it was like somebody made this little comic meme, and it was like, every time I was like, that's what Marvel does. And it showed like a thing of like, some character looking, and some guy's got a gun behind them, and it was doing the Marvel quote of like, there's someone standing with a gun behind me, isn't there? Like always those stupid little like self-aware things. I'm like, ugh. It was like refreshing from that point of view of like not hearing that crap nonstop in a movie. So it was just enjoyable. And the action is pretty kick-ass. But yeah, Andor is good, and I'm actually excited to finish out the episode, and I hope season 2 does well, because I was like, it was the least show I was at all excited about. Like, I was not planning to watch it whatsoever, because Boba Fett was just shit. Like, Obi-Wan was just looked like a crappy YouTube show. I was like, this movie has like a $500,000 more time budget than everything else. Like, it's unbelievable. I was like, what the crap? Like, they chose it. Like, I would not have expected this character. And the best part is, I'm like, the story is interesting in the fact that I don't really care how it connects that much with like the Death Star and stuff, where like, you know, with Obi-Wan, you kind of want to see Anakin and stuff. Like, I almost don't even care. Like, the story's been interesting enough that it's good on its own, that it's like, oh, I kind of want to see where this goes. And that's not a feeling I've had in a long time. So it's been enjoyable. So I'm giving it credit.
I was just going to point out, you mentioned Obi-Wan, and I realized I forgot about Obi-Wan again. We started watching that in June with Micah. After a few episodes, it started to get, you know, with the Vader scene stepping in, it kind of got too violent for him, too scary. So we had shelved it and like, oh, we'll watch that together, like when we get a time where adults can use our big screen TV for things besides cartoons. I think it was back in November. We finally were like, oh, like Micah's asleep. Let's watch a show. Let's pick a show. Like, oh, let's watch more of Obi-Wan. And we watched like the rest of the episode we hadn't finished. And we looked at each other and we're like, that's not worth our together TV time. We just shelved
Joy
it.
has not watched one of them with me. She, like, I forced her and she got so mad at me because I wanted to show her some stuff from Boba Fett. She's like, no, I can't. Like, this is so bad. But I put on Andor. I was on to the second episode because I started a little bit. I was like, I'm just curious. And I'm like, shit, this music's good. Like, this music is not like pure crap like the last couple of shows.
Yeah.
Where it just feels like MIDI music. Like, it just sounds awful and it doesn't fit Star Wars. This one is like kind of almost cyberpunk-ish, but it's like, it kind of gives me vibes of Sicario, where like it's just intense, but it still gives a sci-fi vibe, not 100% Star Wars, but it just fits really well. And I'm like, dang, this sounds good. And like the ship scenes look good. Like, it's not goofy. I'm like, what is this crap? Who allowed this to happen? And I was like, how did this get out of here? So yeah, it's good. But so Joy actually was like, hey, she like watched just the second episode and she's like, I want to watch. She's like, don't watch anymore. I'll watch this with you. I was like, okay. I'm like, that's a big thing. She hasn't watched any of the other films or shows. She's like, hates it.
Well, listener, with that, this has been the Casual Shenanigans Gaming Podcast. As always, you can write into casualshenanigans@gmail.com to be part of the show, or tweet at casualshenanigan, and I promise I will check to see if anyone actually tweets at us before the next episode. But thank you all for coming out and being a part of the show as often as we keep doing it. I would say we'll keep doing it as long as you keep listening, but we'll keep doing it as long as we feel like it, and I think I got at least one more in me. So we will see you all next time, but until then, stay casual.